Buy cheap and safe NBA 2K22 MT at NBA2King.com. You can use code Excapar, that's EXCAPAR, for 5% off your entire purchase. Alrighty, so we've done the point guards through power forward, so obviously the last tier list that we have left is going to be the center. So here we are with the best centers tier list. If you guys do enjoy the video at all, hit that like button down below. Comment if you guys think I need to move some guys up, move some guys down, or if you just think I left some people off in general that you just really wanted to see. And obviously that subscribe button. Also, let me know if you've hit level 40 to get Allen Iverson yet, since I'm making my final push like today, tomorrow, with the new packs. I have to hit level 40 and cap that off. So let me know. And if you guys do want to see any of the other tier lists, they will all be linked in the description down below. Just pick up the tier list you want, and boom, go and check them out. So without further ado, let's just start this off and have some fun where we can show off the past tier. First, starting off with my man Zydrunas Ilgauskas, who traditionally I love in 2K whenever they drop, better versions of him. Not really a massive fan of this one, but I mean, really, who is? He's a Sapphire, just again missing badges, missing stats, insanely slow to play the center, just not really too much of a dub. Next up, my man Sim Bular. I really hope they do something like they did last year where they give us, like a diamond or whatever that's just cracked out of Sim Bular, just because it's nice to see, 2K16 goats like him just come back and just be godly. Now the Sapphire, again, insanely slow, which doesn't really do too much. He's kind of just like a paint defender because his player build is massive. But yeah, just not really anything crazy. Yao Ming, now I know some people like him, but I don't know. People just tend to like a lot of the cards just because they're tall, not necessarily because they're good. And I think Yao Ming's kind of like that. Dude does have a godly midi though, because 7'6" or 7'5", whatever the hell he is, and having a good midi like that and a good jumper and such, it can be pretty cool. Just not really my cup of tea. Mike Muscala is a card that I've seen a lot of people use, mainly because he's kind of just like a stretch 5. And that's essentially it, but the dude is an absolute pup on defense, doesn't really rebound, and he just kind of shoots threes with an awkward release. I'm personally not a fan, and I've cooked up basically everybody who's used him, especially recently. I still don't know why people are using him in some of the games that I'm playing, like limited and stuff like that. He's just objectively not a very good card unless you want to shoot. Ruby Wilt Chamberlain, back to the basket big that just plays a lot of defense, traditionally aren't my favorite of players, and I think this Wilt is just kind of the worst of them all. I really haven't seen anybody use him, even though he's a free card, so that kind of should show you a little bit of how people are feeling of our man Wilt over here, although, he does have a pink diamond, which was also free, so, maybe some people are growing to like our man Wilt. Eddie Curry, just, I don't know why they decided to get rid of base 38 from him. He's kind of had it, like, the last 2 years, something like that, so a little bit interesting. They kind of gave him a pretty bad shot to go with that. He doesn't really have a midi, or a good midi or a good three-pointer either way, so it's not really like it hurts him too much, but he's kind of meant to just be a bit of a slashing post guy that plays some defense, and I'm just really not a fan of him. Have him, tried him, no thanks. Next up is my man Mitchell Robinson, who was one of my OG favorite cards to have in the, day one of my team. I used and abused this Mitchell Robinson because his paint defense was crazy. But at this point, we have a lot of really good guys who can kind of, play defense in the paint, rebound well. And this Mitchell Robinson is just, not really that dude anymore. Just has too many super badges. I miss him, but yeah, it is what it is. Next up, Pink Diamond Ben Wallace, one of the worst cards I think that I've used. I know a lot of people liked him for his defense, especially as like a power forward. I think he was better there because he is very undersized. But in my opinion, when I was using him, he really wasn't playing defense up to what I thought he was going to, which is severely disappointing for me. So I'm throwing him down in the hard pass here because I do not suspect that I will use Ben Wallace. Again, probably until 2K23, we'll have to see. But it is what it is. Next up, in the still decent tier, I guess I'll show you guys everybody that's in this one as well, because, why not? We have my man, I'm not even going to lie, I don't 100% know how to say it, but Hak Seung Jin. Hopefully that's relatively correct, but my guy's actually pretty decent. He's got like a 63-point shot, so if you're sitting in the corner off catch, you can kind of do it. And has an okay release. Okay card in general. He's just really tall, really good in the post, and I'm pretty sure he's like 7'2" or something like that, so my guy can actually like really pup in the paint if you know what you're doing with him. So that's kind of cool, but, I don't really love him. Obviously, I'm going to use like a Wong Chi Chi if I'm using like a budget Ruby center. It's just opinion. Nikola Jokic just has a slow jumper and just not really the best defender. Again, a lot of people liked them when the other Dunktober set came out, but I never really was one of those guys. Just never really was a huge fan of Jokic. Good screen center, can kind of shoot, but just meh, in my opinion. Nerlens Noel, one of those back-to-the-basket guys who I'm just not really impressed with. Michael Thompson, same thing. Back-to-the-basket guy that just doesn't really do anything crazy, at least in my opinion. You can have some fun with him, but I just, nah. probably never going to use him myself. Rudy Gobert, one of the best paint defenders that I think I've used in the game, probably because that Hall of Fame rim protector dude just slaps away any bucket. But if you think you're getting a bucket with Rudy, you got something else coming to you. Marvin Bagley, one of the OG budget centers that was like insanely good this year. Just obviously the first of the year good budget cards. Obviously are going to be some of the first that aren't going to be too hot once they come out. Marvin Bagley's right, but yeah, just not my guy. He does do a little bit of everything, which is pretty nice. I just don't think that he's all that anymore in my team. He's just kind of like, you know, a solid, you know, bench guy if you want him to be that. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar obviously has his pink diamonds, and the amethyst just, you know, ain't really all that. I think they kind of took away the midi on this amethyst is really what I love Kareem for, as a center that can really shoot it from the mid-range, and this one just can't really do it, so not a fan. Dino Raja, they decided that they were no longer giving him his absolutely unreal, like insanely long wingspan, and decided to bring him back down to his, like, you know, real life wingspan of 7'3". And I think that kind of killed a lot of the reason of why everybody really loved Dino, was because, you know, he had this just crazy wingspan that allowed him to get any rebound, you know, block any shot that realistically you would want to. Now, he's still a good card, has an okay 3 that you can kind of hit off a catch and shoot if that's what you're looking to do. Can rebound well still and still play some good paint defense, but, you know, can't really shoot the 3 too well. I still like Dino, I just, you know, I miss his, you know, cheesy wingspan. Next up, the Dikembe Mutombo. Basically, just imagine a Rudy Gobert that's like 1 inch taller, and you have Dikembe. Obviously, like better badges and stuff like that, bit of a better post threat, but, you know, he's still good. Just not the type of cards that I really like using. DeAndre Jordan, another kind of back to the basket kind of guy who's just going to play some defense, block some shots, and dunk the hell out the ball. If you like those kind of guys who really can't shoot at all and people just kind of sag in the paint for, you can have that. I just think defense is so easy right now that I need to have a center that can at least threaten taking a 3, because it's once you remove the little court spacing that you have, it becomes very predictable to guard you or have them guard you, and I just, you know, I'm not really looking forward to that whenever I play. Next up is my man Bill Laimbeer, who, if he didn't have one of the worst jumpers, I think probably I could move up into pretty damn solid, but he just has a jumper that pulls your feet forward, really easily gets you contested. It's really hard to time and just isn't ideal, but he's a great defender. He's a really good post guy, and his rebounding is absolutely insane. Like, I actually really like this Bill Laimbeer card. I just wish his jumper was on, like, very quick, because it's kind of baited. Not kind of, it's pretty baited. And last but not least, in our still least tier is going to be our man Andre Drummond. Obviously, I think we all know what Andre Drummond kind of does. This one didn't get any sort of glitch for shooting or anything like that. Athleticism, nothing like that. So he rebounds, and he plays good in the post. That's about it. So, you know, there it is. Next up, we can start off our pretty damn solid tier, which is starting with our man Pink Diamond Wilt. Obviously, I'm never really a huge fan of Wilt Chamberlain. I usually am actually a bit of a hater of Wilt Chamberlain cards. I'll admit that. But this Wilt's actually alright, especially if you're just looking to play in the paint, play some good defense out there, block some shots, get some boards. Wilt's great at that. Just, you know, not really a guy that I'm super excited about, but still, you know, he ain't too shabby, so I'll throw him in pretty damn solid. Next up is my man Willis Reed, who's usually like one of those jack-of-all-trades kind of, you know, center power forwards when they drop him. I do like Willis better as a power forward than a center because he's, you know, 6'9", really actually can play that power forward really well. Has a decent jumper, can kind of shoot a little bit, can play in the post real well, and he's a pretty good defender, just kind of like that jack-of-all-trades. Vaguely reminds me of the, you know, dark matter that we got at the exchange last year that was really damn good. So, you know, go Willis Reed. Next up, my man Rick Smits, and I've said it with Kareem, that one of the reasons I love Kareem is because he's got that killer midi. Rick Smits, same thing. Dude is massive, like what, 7'4", something like that, and has a great midi with jump shot 22. Can play good defense because he's so tall and rebounds so well because he's so tall, and his post game is crazy because he's got a good strength and stuff like that. I just love the fact that, you know, Rick Smits can be one of those back to the basket guys, but I can still stretch it out to nearly the 3-point line and take some great threes with a money jumper. So I love Rick Smits for that. Next up is my man Rafe LaFrentz, one of those just great kind of catch and shoot, you know, centers that can go out there, get you some buckets from the 3-point line, play good in the post. I just love, you know, the ability to just be a knockdown shooter with jump shot 28. It's great. Next up, my man Patrick Ewing, who honestly has one of the hardest card arts in the game. Like, in general, I think this is what, the 80s card art? It is, or 80s or 90s, one of the two. I forget which one it is. I think it's actually the 90s. I said 80s, but I think it's the 90s because, you know, Jordan and Pippen also have it. And dude, it's godly. It looks so clean. The only thing that really holds Patrick Ewing cards back, even though he does actually have like a 72 or something like that 3-point shot, is that his jumper's pretty butt. yeah, it's just really about it. Because he's a good post guy, good rebounder, good stuff like that. His jumper's just kind of baited, kind of booty cheeks, so you really can't get those middies or three-pointers off like the way that you would like, but he's a fun card, and I like him. Next up is Nate Thurman, who is just a great center because although he's undersized, he's super speedy and just insane defensively, even, stretching it out to the perimeter, which you gotta love a versatile card like that. So, go Nate Thurman. He's just not really gonna be giving you too many buckets, but you gotta love what he can do on the defensive end, which obviously I absolutely do because I put him in a pretty damn solid tier. Next up is my man Ruby Mo Bamba, who's my current mission. I'm trying to get the assists, points, rebounds, blocks like that with the Tis of Season cards. So Mo Bamba is kind of perfect for that low key. So the one thing you'll notice with Mo Bamba is what I was saying with Dino Raja, where the insanely long wingspan really helps out. This Mo Bamba, despite being absolutely hoed when it comes to badges, has great stats, a pretty solid jumper. Basically, is like a Ruby version of that Diamond Jaren Jackson Jr. That we showed in the power forwards tier list a little bit earlier, which is awesome to see. So you can still stretch it out and shoot some threes if you wanted to, but defensively and rebounding is really where you'll find it. Is overpowered with Mo Bamba, even if it's a post game a little bit if you want to, but dude, his wingspan is absolutely dummy. Like, this card, really fun. I just wish he had more badges. Next up is my man Pink Diamond Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I said that I liked his amethyst. I just wish he had that midi, and Pink Diamond is exactly that. I do think that doesn't move him up too far, obviously, because his Kareem's a bit outdated, but his jumper is absolutely money, and it's awesome having a guy who can play so good in the post, so good defensively and rebounding, but still, stretch it out and hit those middies whenever you really need it. That foul line jumper is overpowered. Next up is my man Ruby James Wiseman, who's basically, in my opinion, he kind of just is what Marvin Bagley was in the beginning of the year, is what the Ruby James Wiseman is now. And just a nice, can-do-it-all kind of center, although he has a pretty terrible jumper, but just has a little bit of everything in his arsenal. Next up is my man Dikembe Mutombo. Yeah, that sounds right. Dikembe Mutombo, who... it was one of the OG, I'm insanely good kind of centers in the game. It still is actually a damn solid center. He just has a really baited jumper right now, has really good defense. I'm gonna assume I might get a few comments that say, how's he not baby demon? And I just didn't really feel like putting him out there. I just think the Dikembe is a bit outdated at this point, and his jumper's just too easy to bait out, and I kind of know what he does at this point, so I just think he's pretty easy to counter in my opinion. But he's still a good center. Next up is my man Christian Wood, who kind of leans more towards that offensive center. You try to, play a little bit quicker, try to get some buckets when people aren't expecting it, or using their slower, more post-centric kind of guys. And Christian Wood has that Ray Allen jumper, which is just always money. At least I'm hoping he still has it. I haven't 100% checked recently. But Christian Wood is great in kind of like those pick and pop scenarios where you're trying to run that. Doesn't really have the greatest of defense, but he can rebound well. You just have to make sure, you play according to how he is. But if you're one of those guys who doesn't really care too much about defense, you're like, I'm just get down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and try to score some buckets, Christian Wood could fit perfectly in that system. And last but not least is Big Country Bryant Reeves, who, again, doesn't really have the greatest of jumpers, doesn't really have a three-point shot anyway to go with it, but does have a midi if you wanted it. And I will say Bryant Reeves is a solid guy. Like, his post game is really good. Essentially, aside from shooting, he's actually pretty decent. He's not going to be, coming home on any rewards, one of the best cards in the game, but he's, a solid card in all aspects, so I'll give him his dubs. Especially in playmaking. He's actually a really good playmaker. Starting off our Baby Demon tier, we have the GOAT of budget centers in Wang Qixi. This guy has jump shot 28, one of the smoothest jumpers you could have, especially on a big man. It's just money, and literally can do everything. Even comes with something like silver limitless spot up to really be a god when it comes to shooting. When it comes to budget guys that you can play your center position, literally he's the GOAT, the GOAT. Next up is my man Wes Unseld, and this is kind of purely a rating because he's an amazing power forward. I get that he's not a baby demon center. He's probably pretty damn solid, maybe even still decent, to be honest with you. But I think with his ability to play power forward at a really high level, especially if you badge him up, he is just a great card. I love him as a 4. Yes, he's 6'7", but he can kind of play that Draymond Green role, just a little bit more offensive heavy, and I just think it's really fun. So, you know what? I'm throwing him in the baby demon. You can fight me about it. Next up is my man Miles Turner, who is just a great 3-and-D center. Essentially, that's what he does. He's got a bit of a post game and stuff like that. He's got rebound. He's got the traditional center stuff that you expect. But Miles Turner just has a good jumper and really good defense when it comes to that. So you got to give him his dubs for it. Next up is my man Moses Malone, who I kind of just view as a slightly better version of Nate Thurman, just because he's got a little bit more offense, at least from my opinion. And I just haven't really liked Nate Thurman when I've used him, and I've liked Moses Malone. So, I'm going to go with it. Next up is my man Kevin McHale, who honestly has one of the worst jumpers that I've used on a card. But when you're using him as like a center power forward, you can kind of get away with it. You can get some slightly more open shots than you would with a guard. And Kevin McHale is just kind of one of those guys who has really versatile defense, can kind of guard the 1 through 5 if you need him to do it, and just kind of do what he can do. So, you know, I like him. I'll throw him up there, although his diamond is kind of cheeks. Next up is my man Jonas Valanciunas, who actually got this moments for being a lights out shooter, and he's damn good at just being a nice center. Again, another one of those guys who kind of leans a little bit more towards the offensive end, but still has some good defensive badge, so he can be a nice solid round center for you. The jumper is just, you know, a little bit baited. Next up is personally one of my favorite cards to run in Diamond George Mikan. Now, Diamond George Mikan is not going to be coming home for, you know, best block of the year kind of rewards or like anything like that. But he's got solid enough defense so you can, you know, play it in a pinch and do what you need to do. Just not really going to get too many highlight blocks. And it's still a really fun card. Jump shot 4 is nasty on him. He's lightning quick and he dunks like a menace. So I quite am fond of this George Mikan card. Next up is my man Dwight Howard, who again I am a big fan of. I know some people don't really like him, but when it comes to non-shooting centers, I think this Dwight is one of the most overpowered. Like, the dude literally dunks everything. He blocks whatever shot that's even near him, which is just crazy. I have a friend who uses him, and Dwight's one of his favorite cards because he can essentially run from the 3-point line and still block somebody before they have time to release their layup, which is just, dude, it is so frustrating. Dwight, obviously, he's not going to be coming home with any, you know, crazy mid-ranges or 3-point shots or anything like that. But what he does it the best at. Next up is my man Dave Cowens. I'm one of those kind of like jack-of-all-trades guys. He is a bit undersized, so kind of more, you know, lent towards a power forward. But can shoot, play defense, rebound well. Can't really, you know, play make badge-wise, but it's just a good all-around card to have out there, which is kind of what Dave Cowens has been known for recently. Just kind of can do everything. Next up is my man Diamond Al Horford, who I've actually used as like my starting center for a while, and he's surprisingly good. Now, I know Al Horford only has like a bronze clam, so he's not like, you know, a super versatile all-around, you know, defending card or whatever, but I mean, he does come with, you know, gold limitless spot up, things like that to be a good shooter. Yes, it is a baited jumper, but it's still damn solid. I don't know. I like this Al Horford more than I thought I would, and I think this is kind of the best Al Horford we'd had in years, so I kind of wanted to give him a bit of a shout out. Next up is my man Alonzo Mourning, who's again another one of those kind of like jack of all trades kind of cards. I think usually when they give us like these undersized cards, they try to do their best to like make them as well-rounded as they can. Even though he's only 7'10" or 6'10" with a 7'6" wingspan. But Alonzo Mourning especially, you'll notice his defense all around is crazy, kind of like a Draymond Green type, and has really good post game as well. Can even play make a bit, and has a little bit of shooting, but set shot 17 again. Not really the greatest. It's not really ideal. There's only one card who I think I have higher than this Alonzo Mourning who has it, because it's not a wonderful jumper. And last but not least is my man Bam Adebayo, who is just one of my favorite cards, especially at that diamond tier, of just being a good all-around budget card, especially with Bam. He's got great defense, and he's just a really, you know, just nice passer at the center position. I like that as a good jumper, shoots well. Again, kind of could just do everything, and I just really like that of Bam. And that actually wraps up our baby demon tier, and we can start off in the demons, which is starting with Joel Embiid. Jump shot 47, great post game, great shooting, just great everything about this Joel. Just plays better than he should, and I've just had a lot of people absolutely cook me up with Joel Embiid cards, and it's just, you know, it's a little frustrating. Next up is probably the best center in the game right now, and it's, you know, not really too much up for debate. And Hakeem Olajuwon, just because there's really nothing that he can't do. Yes, set shot 18 isn't the greatest of jumpers, let's be honest, but he has like an 85 shot 3, so who really cares? He has great defense, he has great playmaking, one of the best guys when it comes to just absolutely cooking you in the post. Like, when it comes to being a good center, this Hakeem honestly is the best in the game. He's just hidden behind blocking and Giannis and Tracy McGrady, so not too many people have him. Next up is currently my starting center in DeMarcus Cousins, and this guy is just an absolute beast on the offensive end and still actually has pretty good defense. You can batch it up and actually make it pretty solid, but set shot 8 is a great jumper for centers, especially this DeMarcus Cousins abuses the hell out of it, has great post game, his finishing is just kind of godly, and his shooting is just, it's lights out. DeMarcus Cousins is seriously one of my favorite cards to just go out there and get absolute buckets with right now. Next up is my man David Robinson, who, if we're being honest, is still either a number 1 or number 2 center of the game. He's probably behind Hakeem, in my opinion, number 2. But honestly, I think David Robinson probably is the best jumper that I've used on a center card. It's just crazy. His post game is absolutely insane. His defense is equally as frustrating as a Dwight Howard, which is just, you know, kind of annoying to go against. But it's just great what David Robinson can do. And he's been up in that top 1 to 2, you know, in centers for quite a long time, so you still have to give him his flowers because the dude is just, he's an absolute menace. He's a good card. Next up is my man Nikola Vucevic and Marc Gasol. These guys I kind of view in the same light because they have the same jumper. I think it's like the Hakeem set shot 18. But what you'll notice is that Marc Gasol is going to be definitely a more offensive or defensive heavy kind of guy, whereas Nikola Vucevic is going to be a little bit more offensive. Both of these guys aren't the fastest. They're a little bit slow. But when I've used them, I think they've been really, really fun, especially this Vucevic. He's still my backup center. A great card. I think he's like Hall of Fame sniper or something like that. Just absolutely knocked it down. But you do have to pick your poison when it comes to their shots because they are a little bit easy to cast. Next up is the set shot 17 card that I was telling you guys about, and it says Bill Russell. I think when it comes to undersized centers, Bill Russell is the best to run, which is why I put him up here in the Demons here. Bill Russell just has that defense that's like, dude, you're not scoring on him. No matter what you do, Bill Russell is getting a stop on you guys, even as a really good post game and finishing, and can shoot a little bit as that goal limitless spot up Hall of Fame catch and shoot, which is pretty nice, which is a really fun card. People are sleeping on this Bill Russell, one of the cheapest cards out there, but I think he is one of the best centers in the game right now, or one of the best power forwards in the game. Just all around, he's just a really good card in my opinion. And last but not least is going to be the best screen center in the game in Arvydas Sabonis. This guy just sets big bodies out there, and it is crazy what he can do. Yeah. And he has the same jumper as DeMarcus Cousins, but it's like 7'3". The only thing that is really a negative about this Arvydas Sabonis is that because he's so tall, he feels very, very, very slow, which is, again, the only negative that I can really spot out. And you can kind of get around it. I know a lot of people still use, slow centers and have fun with it, so you should be okay with them. And that actually wraps up our best centers tiers. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section below. Again, if there's the guys you want to move up, move down, or just people that are left off entirely that you think is blasphemous and you need to let me know. Let me know it down in the comments, and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.